For nearly a century, Hollywood operated an unwritten rule so consistent it might as well have been carved into the gates of every studio lot. If you were Jewish and you wanted to make it, your name had to go. Not because you were ashamed, not because you were hiding, but because the industry that Jewish immigrants had built from nothing turned around and told their children and grandchildren that sounding Jewish was bad for business. What you are about to hear are the real names of 15 celebrities you thought you knew. Some of these names were erased decades ago, some were erased recently, and every single one tells a story about what it costs to succeed in an industry that rewards you for being everything except what you actually are. If you find these stories fascinating, make sure you subscribe to Bloodlines and Borders. He was born Bernie Schwartz in the Bronx, the son of Hungarian Jewish immigrants who spoke almost no English. His parents were so poor, they once gave his younger brother to an orphanage because they could not afford to feed him. When Bernie decided to become an actor, his agent told him his name was impossible. Bernie Schwartz became Tony Curtis, and Tony Curtis became one of the biggest movie stars of the 1950s, starring in Some Like It Hot and Spartacus. The screenwriter I.A.L. Diamond, who was also Jewish, met Tony Curtis's father years later and delivered one of the great one-liners in Hollywood history. Mr. Curtis, why did you change your name to Schwartz? Number 14, Lauren Bacall. Born Betty Joan Persky in the Bronx, her mother was Romanian Jewish. Her father walked out on the family when she was young. She was tall, striking, and had a voice that could freeze a room. The studio decided that Betty Joan Persky was not going to work on a movie poster. She became Lauren Bacall, married Humphrey Bogart, and became one of the most iconic actresses in film history. Years later, she set the record straight in a single sentence. I was born in the Bronx. My name is Betty Persky. I am a Jew. 3 facts, no apology. Number 13, Edward G. Robinson. Born Emmanuel Goldenberg in Bucharest, Romania. He arrived in America at 10 years old, speaking Yiddish and Romanian. When he enrolled at the American Academy of Dramatic Arts, he was told that Emmanuel Goldenberg would never appear on a marquee. He picked Edward G. Robinson, a name so generic it could have belonged to an insurance salesman from Ohio. As Robinson, he became one of the greatest actors of Hollywood's golden age, starring in Little Caesar, Double Indemnity, and The Ten Commandments. As Emmanuel Goldenberg, he would have been just another immigrant kid from the Lower East Side that nobody remembered. He was born Isher Danielovich Dembski in Amsterdam, New York. His parents were illiterate Jewish immigrants from Shavusi in what is now Belarus. They spoke Yiddish at home. They had nothing. When their son decided to become an actor, he was told his name had to go. In his own words, Ishur Danielovich said the name was unwieldy and Semitic. He picked 2 names out of thin air, Kirk and Douglas, names that sounded like they belonged to a Scottish war hero, not a Jewish kid from upstate New York. He became one of the biggest movie stars in history. But here's the ending nobody expected. At 83, after surviving a helicopter crash and a stroke, Kirk Douglas returned to Judaism, reconnected with his faith, and spent the last 2 decades of his life as a devout Jew. Isher Danielovich came back. If you find these stories fascinating, make sure you subscribe to Bloodlines and Borders. Number 11, Jerry Lewis. He was born Joseph Levitch in Newark, New Jersey, to Russian Jewish parents who were both in show business. His father was a vaudeville entertainer and his mother was a pianist. Joseph Levitch became Jerry Lewis because the entertainment industry of the 1940s had no room for a comedian with a name that announced his Jewishness before he even opened his mouth. Lewis went on to become one of the most beloved comedians in American history. He raised billions for the Muscular Dystrophy Association, and he was nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize. All of that was achieved under a name that was not his. Number 10, Mel Brooks. Born Melvin Kaminsky in Brooklyn, New York, to a family of Jewish immigrants from Ukraine and Poland. He said he changed it because Melvin Kaminsky would not fit on a drum. That is it. That is the reason. Whether or not it is the whole reason is a question that Mel Brooks, being Mel Brooks, will probably answer with another joke. What is not a joke is the career that followed. The Producers, Blazing Saddles, Young Frankenstein. Brooks became one of the few entertainers in history to win an Emmy, a Grammy, an Oscar, and a Tony. He also became one of the few Jewish comedians to make the Holocaust funny, which required both genius and courage that most people cannot imagine. He did all of it as Mel Brooks. But Melvin Kaminsky was always in the room. Number 9, Bob Dylan. He was born Robert Allen Zimmerman in Duluth, Minnesota, and raised in Hibbing in a tight-knit Jewish community. He had a bar mitzvah. He attended a Jewish summer camp. His family was active in the local synagogue. Then Robert Zimmerman became Bob Dylan, and the most important songwriter of the 20th century was born under a name that had no connection to the Jewish community that raised him. He has never fully explained the change. He once said that you call yourself what you want to call yourself, using the kind of deliberate vagueness that only Bob Dylan can make sound profound. He went on to win the Nobel Prize in Literature, under his new name, of course. Number 8, Gene Simmons. Born Chaim Witz in Tiret Carmel, Israel. His mother, Flora Klein, was a Hungarian Jewish woman who survived the Nazi concentration camps. The family immigrated to New York when he was 8 years old. He spoke Hebrew and Hungarian before he learned English. When he decided to become a rock star, he knew Chaim Witz was not going to work on a concert poster. He became Gene Simmons, co-founded Kiss, and built one of the most successful brands in rock history. And unlike most people on this list, Simmons has been brutally honest about why he did it. In an interview with Howie Mandel, he said he was born Chaim Witz and he understood that that did not work. He said in order to succeed, he had to be a chameleon, dress British, think Yiddish. Yeah, you are Jewish, that is fine. Shut the fuck up, nobody is interested. If there is a more honest description of Hollywood's unwritten rule, nobody has ever said it out loud. Number 7, Ralph Lauren. Born Ralph Lifshitz in the Bronx to Ashkenazi Jewish immigrants from Belarus. He was bullied relentlessly at school for his last name. At 16, he changed it to Lauren. Just Lauren, no drama, no public explanation. He was a teenager who was tired of being mocked. At 26, he launched a tie line. By 40, he had built one of the most valuable fashion brands in the world. Ralph Lauren is now synonymous with American luxury, with polo matches and country estates, and the kind of old money elegance that has absolutely nothing to do with a Jewish kid named Lifshitz from the Bronx. The entire brand is, in a sense, the most successful name change in the history of American commerce. He did not just change his name. He built an empire on the new one. Winona Ryder was born Winona Laura Horowitz. Her father is Jewish, and her family has deep Jewish roots. She was 13 when she auditioned for her first film role, and her agent suggested she change her name. She took Ryder from a Mitch Ryder album her father owned. She went on to star in Heathers, Edward Scissorhands, Reality Bites, and Stranger Things. But here is the part that makes her story cut deeper than most. When Winona was in middle school, a group of boys beat her up because they thought she was Jewish. They called her anti-Semitic slurs while they did it. The girl who was attacked for being Jewish went on to build an entire career under a name that hid the very identity her attackers had targeted. Think about that for a moment. If you find these stories fascinating, make sure you subscribe to Bloodlines and Borders. Number 5, Natalie Portman. Born Natalie Hirschlag in Jerusalem, Israel. She moved to the United States at 3 and was advised to take a stage name when she began acting as a child. She used her grandmother's maiden name, Portman. Unlike many people on this list, Portman has never hidden her Jewish identity. She speaks fluent Hebrew, has been outspoken about Israel, and has discussed her heritage in countless interviews. But the name on the marquee is still not the name she was born with. The system that required the change is older than she is. Number 4, Jon Stewart. Born Jonathan Stewart Leibowitz in New York City. He has always maintained that the name change was primarily about distancing himself from his father, with whom he had a deeply painful relationship, not about hiding his Jewishness. That may well be true, but director Judd Apatow, who is also Jewish, could not resist testing it. During a guest appearance on The Daily Show, Apatow said that there are some people who have Jewish names and they change them so they do not sound Jewish. Stewart played along. Apatow then delivered the punchline that he thought Stewart believed he was passing for someone who is not Jewish, and he was not. The audience laughed, and Stewart laughed. Cultural critic Ron Rosenbaum wrote an entire essay in Slate, arguing that Stewart should change his name back as a statement against the very tradition this video is about. Stewart never did. But he has used his platform to advocate for Jewish causes more effectively than almost anyone in American media, which may be a more powerful statement than any name change could make. Number 3, Jonah Hill. Born Jonah Hill Feldstein. He dropped his last name early in his career. His sister Beanie Feldstein kept the full name and built her own successful acting career with it. The two siblings represent both sides of a transition that is still happening in Hollywood. Jonah started in an era when dropping a Jewish-sounding surname was still standard practice. Beanie came up in an era when keeping it was becoming a point of pride. When Kanye West went on an anti-Semitic tirade in 2022 and then posted that watching Jonah Hill made him like Jewish people again, the absurdity of the whole name change tradition collapsed into a single surreal moment. The man who had dropped Feldstein to fit into Hollywood was now being cited by an anti-Semite as a reason to tolerate Jews. You could not write this if you tried. Number 2, the studio founders. This is not one person. It is an entire generation. Louis B. Mayer was born Lazar Meir. Samuel Goldwyn was born Shmuel Gelbfish. He first changed his name to Goldfish, decided that would not work, and changed it again to Goldwyn. The Warner brothers were originally the Wenzel brothers from Poland. Jack Warner, the youngest, spent his career being at once one of the most powerful Jews in America, and pretending his Jewishness was irrelevant. When a writer pitched him a film about antisemitism, Warner said, "I don't want to make a movie about that. Let's make a movie about a family from Oklahoma." These men built the most powerful cultural machine in human history. The first rule of the machine they built was this: do not sound like the people who built it. Number 1, the next generation, the silence. The number 1 spot does not go to a single celebrity. It goes to a pattern. In March 2025, The Hollywood Reporter published a piece with a headline that landed like a slap. Why are Jewish celebrities in Hollywood so afraid to talk about anti-Semitism? The article documented how, during a period of surging anti-Jewish attacks, synagogue shootings, swastikas on college campuses, and prominent public figures making openly anti-Semitic statements, the vast majority of Jewish celebrities said nothing. Adam Sandler, who built an entire brand around Jewish pride with the Chanukah song, was silent. The article argued that the same culture of strategic invisibility that made Isher Danielovich become Kirk Douglas in 1946 was still operating in 2025. The names are no longer being erased, but the silence is the modern version of the same erasure. Dress British, think Yiddish. Do not draw attention, do not make waves. Nobody is interested. But here's the truth that every person on this list eventually discovered. The names were erased, the identity was not. Kirk Douglas returned to Judaism at 83. Gene Simmons speaks with raw emotion about his mother surviving the camps. Jon Stewart uses his platform for Jewish advocacy. Lauren Bacall told the world her real name was Betty Persky and dared anyone to care. Winona Ryder was beaten up for being Jewish, built a career under a different name, and is still Jewish. Mel Brooks turned the Holocaust into comedy so sharp it drew blood. He did it as Melvin Kaminsky, wearing a Mel Brooks mask, and everyone in the room knew both men were the same person. Hollywood erased the names. It could not erase the people, and that might be the most Jewish thing about the whole story. If you find these stories fascinating, make sure you subscribe to Bloodlines and Borders. Thank you for watching. If you want to go deeper, the next video on your screen is one you won't want to miss. I'll see you there.